But here I am today, telling my story with the world, pointing people to the freedom that comes only through Christ Jesus. I'm from Madisonville, Kentucky. I was raised in a good Christian home. My parents loved me. They loved my older brother. My dad was my baseball coach, my basketball coach. Mom even had dinner on the table for us most nights. And my parents, they drugged me to church. It was the first drug I was ever addicted to. I think I said that wrong. But I was in church 3 times a week. And I remember walking with the Lord at a young age. I remember I was a freshman in high school. I played baseball at my high school. And I remember I would go to school all day. And then right after school, I would do baseball conditioning. And right after baseball, I would go home super tired, go to my room, shut the door, and spend one-on-one time with the Lord. It was intimate. It was real. I'll never forget it. I was a kid on fire for the Lord. But when I turned 16 years old, I got my first girlfriend. It seemed like a good situation. I met this girl in church. She loved the Lord. But the problem was, my relationship with her made me take my eyes off of Jesus. And I think Peter taught us that when we take our eyes off of Jesus, we start to sink. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus is walking on the water. Peter sees him. He says, Lord, if it's you, let me come to you. The Lord says, come. So he steps out over the boat and is literally walking on water. But when the wind and the waves come, he gets afraid. He takes his eyes off of Jesus and he starts to sink. That's what happened to me. So I started to sink, and I started to care a little bit less about the youth group, a little bit less about my relationship with Jesus, a little bit less about reading the Word, and maybe instead of baseball, after baseball, going to the Lord, I would go to her house. And it was a slow drift. I was losing that intimacy with the Lord. And something I didn't tell you yet was, I was 16 and she was 19. I was in high school, she was in college. And to an average kid, you would think that that would have made me feel really good about myself. Puff my chest out, like, look at me, but it did the opposite to me. I got really insecure, and I thought, man, I'm just a kid. She's dating college guys. She's dating guys that are way taller, way cooler, way buffer, way smarter than me. And so it created all these insecurities, which if I would have been solid in my relationship with Christ, he defined me before this. My confidence wasn't him, it wasn't in her, it wasn't in me. My confidence was in Christ. But since I started straying away from that relationship, I didn't know how to combat those insecurities. So I thought, what can I do to combat these insecurities? So I started lifting weights. All of my friends lifted weights. My brother was big in the gym, so was my dad. So I started to lift weights to make myself feel better about my insecurities. And I got bigger, I got stronger, but it didn't do it for me. Eventually, I started to compromise, So beforehand, I was living for the Lord. I didn't go to parties. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. But since I stopped that relationship, I started drinking, going to parties, chasing popularity. That girl and I didn't work out. Chasing girls, smoking weed. And then eventually, someone introduces me to anabolic steroids. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's something you can put into your muscle that makes you bigger, stronger, faster. And so I did that. And it did everything that they told me that it would do. I got bigger, stronger, faster. I got really arrogant. I got really hot-headed. My personality started to change. By this point, it had been quite a few years since I spent any time with the Lord. So I don't even have that relationship at all. I started getting into fights. I'm starting to look for fights. I think that I'm Superman. And I'm not. But I didn't mess with any hard drugs, right? High school's over. And I'm just kind of living a little party life. I did a year of college, and college wasn't really for me. I was looking for purpose. I was looking for purpose in life. I couldn't find it in a relationship. And so I went to college. I didn't find purpose in college. So I think, what would give me purpose? High school's over, and I need to find my place on the earth. And so I thought, you know what? If I get a good job like the rest of the world, I'll finally have some purpose. I'll feel good about myself. So I did. I got a job in my town. It was a factory job. Started making decent money, but that didn't do it for me. I couldn't understand why. At the time, I was living with some friends at a party house. We had a lot of parties. I thought, you know what? If I get out of this house, if I buy a house, if I own my home, then I'll feel like I've got some purpose. If I become a homeowner, do the adult thing. So I did that. I bought a house, and it didn't do it for me. And I couldn't understand why. So I thought, all right, maybe if I make more money is the answer. So I got a raise at my job. I've been there for a while, became a mechanic at this job. I got a 50% raise. Money's okay. Bills are paid. I'm having parties. I'm having fun. I'm smoking. I'm drinking. But I still cannot understand, why do I not feel like I have a purpose in this life? And I'm here to tell you guys, people search the world all of their life looking for purpose in a job, in money, in a relationship, in a social status, in followers. But outside of a relationship with your Creator, you will never find purpose. Hallelujah. Because we were created by God, for His great pleasure. Amen. So that's what I was doing. I was trying to find purpose, and I wasn't finding it. I thought if I got to a certain physical size because of the lifting weights, that I would feel good, and that didn't work. I got another girlfriend trying to find purpose. That didn't work. And I couldn't understand. I started selling some weed at the factory that I was working at. And this one guy that I sold weed to every week had a prescription for pain pills. Every time I sold him weed, he threw me a handful of pain pills. I would always flip them. I'd sell them for $5 a piece, make $20 extra. But one night, I thought, I'm going to see what this is all about. So I took the pills, and once they kicked in, I thought, this is the feeling I've been chasing. This is what I want to feel like every day, forever. I'm happy now. And man, what a lie from the pit of hell, because it's such a synthetic happiness that betrayed me daily. I had a good connection to them, and I was doing pills every day, still thinking I'm Superman, having no clue what these little things are doing to me. I'm getting addicted by the day. I probably went 2 months straight taking pills every day, not even realizing that I'm addicted, until I experienced drug withdrawal for the first time. It was horrible. I got up to taking 20 pills a day. If that would have continued for years and years, I wouldn't be alive. It was a $100 a day habit. It cost me my job. And I don't know what to do. I'm addicted to these pills. It's going to cost me $100 a day. I've got at least $300 a month in steroids that I'm buying. I'm not going to stop. I've got a mortgage payment, a truck payment. I've got all of these bills, and I don't know what to do because my addiction cost me my job. So I turned to the only thing that I knew I could be a drug addict and get away with, which was full-time drug dealing. This was about 10 years ago, and there was a relatively new drug at the time called Spice. My steroid dealer brought me in when his organization was fairly large, where he manufactured 10 pounds a week, and we did it at my house. My whole world became drugs for quite some time. That's all we did. We manufactured drugs, we sold drugs, and it got very dangerous. I started meeting new people in this world and started trying new drugs. I tried crystal meth and fell in love with it. I met someone who taught me how to shoot up, and I started shooting it up. I would stay awake for days on end, even up to a week or two, not eating, not doing anything, not sleeping. And by this point, the party's over in my life. It's not fun anymore. My family knows. I come from a Christian family. They know I'm addicted. They don't know how to help me. Everyone that I used to hang out with, party with, that it was fun, they all stopped the madness. They got jobs. They got families. And I didn't. My life was so bad, I had people banging on my door at 2 a.m., people crawling through my window, all for the drugs. And I'm telling you, if I was laying dead on the living room floor, those people would have walked over my dead body to get to what they wanted. I hated it. And I didn't know how to even rekindle that relationship with God. It had been so long since I had that relationship with Him. But you know what? He's the good shepherd that leads the one that was lost. And I was lost. One day my brother calls me. See, my brother's 5 years older than me. He kind of paved my way through high school. People knew me because of him. He taught me how to get girls, taught me how to fight. And man, I looked up to him so much. If there was anybody in the world that I wanted to see me as a winner, it was my brother Josh. He called me one day. See, he partied, but he stopped and he went into coal mines bought a house, had a couple kids, got married, all that good stuff. I could never stop. And he called me and said, bro, I know what you're doing, man. He said, stop. You're better than this. And he went to give me that Rocky Balboa speech. And I stopped him. I said, listen, bro. And keep in mind, this was my hero. I said, listen, just save it. It's over for me. I'm going to die this way. I'm a loser. And I can't quit. And my argument was, even if I did quit using the drugs, which I can't because I get so sick, I definitely can't stop selling them. It's my only income, man. I got a mortgage payment. I got all this. I can't stop. I'm too deep. I'm too deep, man. And my brother quoted the scripture where Jesus said that God provides food for the birds of the air, and he clothes the lilies of the fields. He'll take care of you too. And of course, I'm paraphrasing, but that was my moment, right? Like I could have said, all right, I'm ready to surrender. But I didn't. I wasn't willing to trust in God. I trusted in myself. But then, 2 months later, God sent a whole bunch of angels in blue. Some of y'all get that. Police. Us that have done some time know that's police. Man, I got raided. They came in my house and it was just like the movies, for real. And I was just too oblivious to know just how hit I was. But they took that big metal stick and knocked down my door. They came, they shredded my house. They found everything. I hadn't slept in a week at this point, and I don't even know how deep the water is that I'm in. So I have to go and serve some time. They got me for trafficking. Before this, I'd not been in a lot of trouble, a couple DUIs, But this is now his big leagues. And so I go and have to serve some time, but I'm optimistic. Hey, I'll finally be clean, man. I'm so desperate to get clean. I hated it. So I go and serve some time. It was the best of the bad situation, right? Like I'm clean. I'm not surrendered to the Lord. I still kind of want to use. I don't want to be a junkie. I made it through serving my time, and then was released by the courts to go to a long-term Christ-centered drug rehab. It was a great program. It's actually called Friends of Sinners. It's actually where I work now. Christ-centered, you live with them long-term. They teach you how to live again, teach you how to work again, all that. But the problem with me was I wasn't willing to surrender. I still wanted to hold on to a few things. Once I got my money right, I'm going to juice again. Once I get out of here, I'm going to have these relationships with these women. I'm still going to drink a little bit. I might use a little bit. And so I got kicked out of their program in 4 months' time. Sent back to jail. And then I got out of jail and they let me back in their program. I got another shot. Now the first time I was 50-50. All right? Kind of on the fence. The next time I said, well, all right. I believe there's a God. And I'll give you about 75%. I'll give you the meth. I'll give you the pills. I'm not going to give you the alcohol, the steroids, or the women. And when I got kicked out again. They let me back in a third time. This place had a lot of grace for me. And then I gave God about 95%. I'll give you everything with the women. And let me tell you, I got kicked out again. Yeah. Because I'm here to tell you guys something. Listen up. 99% faithful is 100% unfaithful. Do I need to say it again? 99% faithful is unfaithful. See, I'm married today. I've got a beautiful wife. I'm married up. She's beautiful, has a master's degree. And if she told me, Jordan, I'm going to be 99% faithful to you, we would have a 100% problem. That means you're going to cheat on me every 100 days. No. And I believe God's the same way. You either serve me or you don't. You're not going to serve me 99%. You're going to serve me 100 or not. God showed me that. So I was kicked out, and this time, man, I gave up. It's over for me. I cannot get clean. I cannot do what I'm supposed to do. I'm a rebel. I'll never get it right. And so I just gave up. I didn't have anywhere to go. I lost my house serving time and all this. And so I was couch surfing, right? Going to different people's houses. Let me tell you something. In your mid-20s, that sucks. I felt so lame doing that. Eventually, this family friend, this older lady, let me live with her. She felt sorry for me because her son died from a drug overdose. She wanted to help me. She could see I was going to die. So she said, I'll let you rent out one of these bedrooms. She said, you just can't bring drugs here. Don't do drugs. And so I broke that rule upon entering her house. But I stayed there for a couple of months. And don't worry, I'm about to get to the good part, okay? Don't worry. It gets better. I'm not just going to say, I got to say at the end. It's good. It gets good. Praise God. I'm at this woman's house, man. I can't really keep a job because I'm using I'm failing drug tests. So I think, you know what? I'm in a new area. I'm going to buy a bunch of dope. Find somebody to sell it for me. It seemed like a good idea at the time. It wasn't. I found somebody, and I fronted him some drugs. I said, all right, this is how much I need here in a few days. Give me what's left over or the money or whatever. And what I'm about to tell you is one of the many reasons that I know for sure that there is a God and He does love me. This man, after a few days, smoked all of my drugs. He tried to act like he wasn't going to pay. So one night I planned to execute him. Got out in all black. I knew exactly how to get to his house. I knew how to get in. And I took off at 4 a.m. And I've got one thing on my mind, and it's murder. I'm a mile away from this man's house, and I'm coming in. 100%. I'll show you. And anybody who was with them was going down to it. I'm sitting at a red light, you guys. 1 mile away from this house. 4 a.m., still dark. I'm wearing all black and I'm ready. All I got to do is wait for this red light, go through it, take a left 100 yards, take a right 100 yards, and I'm at his house. And as I'm waiting on this light to turn green, my phone rings. And it's my dad. And my first thought is, oh no, who's hurt? What's wrong? Because he should be asleep. He shouldn't be calling me. So I answered, Dad, what's up? And my dad is a tough guy. He's a cowboy. I'm from Kentucky. And his voice doesn't creak, but his voice creaked. He said, son, what are you doing? I said, I'm just driving, Dad. What's up? He said, son, you are in danger. Please, whatever you're doing, stop and go back to where you're staying. God, Yahweh, woke my father up out of a cold sleep and said, warn your son. Hallelujah. He was pursuing me. The good shepherd was saving my life that night, because I'm here to tell you two options. Two options for me that night. I would have went there and did the thing. I'd be in prison for life. Or two, I would have died. And I believe I would have died. Because people don't get high by themselves. Okay? So it doesn't take much to make a man on meth paranoid. And it freaked me out when my dad knew exactly what I was doing. Because I didn't make an Instagram post saying, on my way to murder this man, hashtag thug life, wish me luck. I didn't do any of that. It was God. So I went back to where I was staying. The woman found out I'd been using, and she kicked me out. So now I'm just nowhere to go. I'm strung out, nowhere to go. And I just start driving. I wound up at my mom's house. My mom loves Aaliyah. I knocked on her door. She can tell that I'm strung out. And she says, I say, I need a place to crash. She said, Jordan, I'll let you stay here, but you got to go to rehab again. And I'm giving y'all the quick version of my story. But long story short, I've been to rehab 7 times. I was locked up like 10 times. And I just gave up. I thought that was a stupid idea because I couldn't get clean. But I needed a place to stay, so I agreed to go to her house, or to go to rehab if she would let me crash. Now I'm here to tell you, man, I walked through the doors and I was met by the Holy Spirit. The atmosphere was not shame for the first time. I wasn't like sad to be there and feeling like a loser. I felt the presence of God. I didn't know what that feeling was. I hadn't felt it in so long. I sat down on my couch, my mom's couch, and she looked me dead in my gray eyes, and she said, Jordan, I've been praying and fasting for you for 2 weeks. My mom didn't eat food for 2 weeks, praying that God would break the chains of addiction in my life. Look it up. Fasting is biblical. And that's what she did. And on the 12th day of my mom not eating, God let my mom eat because I showed up. This just so happened to be Good Friday. I didn't realize it at the time. My parents are divorced, but my dad heard I was in town and said, hey, bud, come to church with me Sunday. I said, no, Dad, I'm going to be detoxing. I can't do it. He said, well, this Sunday is Easter. People that don't go to church on Easter. And I said, Dad, sorry, I just can't do it. He said, well, buddy, Sunday is my birthday. All right, dang, okay. I went to church, man. I went to church as a gift from my dad. But let me tell you, it was a gift to me. Because the pastor said, if there's anybody here who's been running from God, if you've been living without purpose, come down here, give your life to Jesus and find some purpose. I ran down to the altar. I gave my life 100% to Jesus, and I never used drugs or took a drink since that day. I'm here to tell you, man, I did it all. I served time. I did medicine. I did therapy. I did all that stuff. And it took one encounter with Christ. He's never changed. He'll never change. And he's here to set all the captives free. Okay, so now you're ready for the good part. I don't have all night, but I'm going to tell you the good stuff, right? I went to a drug rehab, man. It was out of town somewhere I'd never been because I'd already burned all these bridges. And it was a Christ Center program. It was real tough, right? Like I had to work my way. I had to work for free for them. And I think God's got a sense of humor because I was a full-time weed eater. That's all I did is I carried a weed eater and weed eated school after school. And I hated it, but you know what? I said, God, I'm going to be the best weed eater they've ever seen. Because I'm going to follow you. And when you know, that hard work, the Lord's favor, man, turned into a real job in the case management office where I kind of learned how business and ministry coexist. Started paying me $7.25 an hour. It felt good. It's better than free. And I eventually gave a speech at one of their graduations. I graduated, and then they had another graduation, and they asked me to be the guest speaker. And I gave a speech. I ripped a lot of it off of YouTube. They didn't know that, but it was a good speech. It sounded like a Nike commercial. Straight up, like, be your best you. Anyway, the CEO was in attendance and said, Jordan, man, you're going to public relations. I said, sir, I don't know what that means. But man, I learned a new, that was my niche. I found out that, let me tell you, public relations is relating to the public. That makes sense? Right? I was giving people tours of the facility. I was on the news, on the radio, making people fall in love with this ministry. It wasn't me, it was God, but you get what I'm saying. Well, here's something cool. I worked my way up to management, was on the fast track to becoming an executive. They put me back in school. Things are good. I get married. I have a kid. Like, life is good. And then I start feeling God stirring in my spirit. Because let me tell you, I'm sold out. I've been sold out since that day that I gave my life to Christ. Am I good on time? All right. I started feeling God calling me to another ministry. I didn't know what that was. And so I said, God, are you calling me to Friends of Sinners, the program that kicked me out? And I felt God lead me to call the executive director. So I called him up and I said, hey, listen, man, I know you kicked me out like 3 years ago, but no. I said, what's the chances of Friends of Sinners needing a marketing department? He said, bro, I just got out of a board meeting where I expressed how badly we need a marketing department. So I'm here to tell you, he was watching my career blow up, thinking the whole time, man, Friends of Sinners needs that. The program that kicked me out 3 times hired me as an executive. So we moved back to Western Kentucky so I can be the development director of this program. I've been traveling, sharing my story, and getting people to hopefully fall in love with Friends of Sinners. And God made it very clear to me that I was supposed to write a book. It's called Jesus Greater Than Drugs. So during the pandemic, man, I just started typing it. It's my full testimony, full force, holding nothing back. And during my prayer time 2 years ago, God told me that I was going to donate that book to every jail and prison in the United States. And let me tell you something. I work for a nonprofit, okay? I'm not rich. I didn't have the money to do that. But we shared the goal on social media. It blew up, and in 5 months' time, from start to finish, 5 months, God got that book in every jail and prison in the United States of America. Not only that, it's now in every jail and prison in Canada. I'm getting letters from inmates saying they gave their life to Jesus, that we got the same story. I want to get treatment now. I want to live now. God is using me. And I'm here to tell you, out of all of this, out of everything that I said, Jesus is the answer. People are looking for answers. You need something. Let me tell you, He's not just greater than drugs. He's not just greater than addiction. He's greater than depression. He's greater than suicidal thoughts. He's greater than lust, than gluttony, than hopelessness. Jesus is the answer. You guys, I was looking for hope in all the wrong places. I was looking for joy in all the wrong people. I was looking for freedom. And I could never find any of it. But I'm here to tell you, hope has a name. Joy has a name. Purpose has a name. Freedom has a name. And that name is Jesus. Come on. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you.